Hello everyone and welcome back to a new video. So I have some good news to bring you today. I got to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. After hiking up the mountain for 7 days and hiking down for 1.5 days, I summited on the Lemosho route and altogether I had a great time. I also did a 3-day safari afterwards. The safari was amazing. We went to some amazing places, such as the Tangerine National Park, the Ngorongoro Crater, and also Lake Manyara National Park. And out of the big 5 animals, I saw 4. The only one I didn't see was a leopard. So, altogether, I've had an amazing time. It's a trip I definitely recommend. So I thought I'd do a video now, because I didn't do a vlog of the trip, just explaining to you a bit about the trip, and also just to give you some tips in case you did want to do this yourself. I am fully open to any questions about the trip, so if I don't cover it in this video, please feel free to ask in the comments. If you ask a question, I will reply to everyone, because I think this is a great experience, and especially if you love hiking, it's something I really think you should do. This is probably one of the harder ones in the world. At one point, our guide said this is the biggest endurance task that the world has to offer that they would let normal people do without a license. So if you're a normal person who doesn't have any licenses for mountain climbing or mountaineering or rock climbing, then this is definitely a big test. This is actually a lot harder than Everest Base Camp. So 10 of 11 people of my group made it to the top of Kilimanjaro, and everyone in the group was really fit and healthy. For example, there was a woman who goes fell running in Yorkshire. There are a few guys there that run marathons and have done the London Marathon. So yeah, I was probably the least fit person in my group. I'm fairly fit, and that's why I made it in the end. But yeah, some of the people in the group were ultra fit. Anyway, so the one person who didn't make it, she'd successfully done Everest Base Camp but couldn't do this. So I guess that just shows the level is harder. Also, Mount Kilimanjaro is 5,985 meters, almost 6,000. Everest Base Camp is only around 5,100. Plus, when you do that, you have more time to acclimatize to the altitude, because you go up slower. Whereas on the final day of Kilimanjaro, it was really rough, because base camp was around 4,600 meters. The mountain's 5,900. So you're going up about 1,300, and you have to acclimatize that day. There's no, it would have been a lot easier if there was, say, a camp at 5,200 or 5,300, so you can have a night of acclimatization before going to the top. So I guess that's really what's so tricky about it, the fact that there is hardly any time to acclimatize on the final day. But then again, I guess that's good, because if you can't handle an altitude of 5,300, you're not going to be above that for too long. Whereas if you camped at that and you couldn't hack it, then you just have to go down overnight. So yeah, positives and negatives. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you 7 tips about what to do if you were to do this yourself. Even if you're not interested in doing it, maybe still watch the video, because you might learn something new. So tip 1 is you've got to walk slowly. So slowly translated to Swahili, which is the language they speak in Tanzania, it's pole pole. So it's spelled like the word pole in the English language. So if somebody was walking too fast, the guides would shout pole pole. And that just means you've got to walk slowly, because walking slowly is essential if you want to do this. Because if you run fast, you'll just get out of breath, especially when on the final day there's 49% oxygen, what there is on ground level. If you're running fast, you're depleting your oxygen reserves really quickly. So it is the long game. It is really the long game. People can't run up there. Even super fit ultra-marathon runners, they can't run up there because they'll just run out of oxygen. You need to use the little oxygen you have efficiently and walk slowly. On the final day, to get from base camp to the top probably took about 7.5 hours. If that was the UK and I was walking at a more normal altitude, I could have probably done that in 3 to 4 hours. But that's not the purpose of Kilimanjaro. The purpose of Kilimanjaro is to be slow. It's not a race. It's really not a race. If you want to get to the top, you shouldn't treat it as a race. Number 2 is you've got to eat all the food they give you. They gave us porridge and soup, and I really don't like those foods, yet the biggest defense against altitude fitness is being hydrated. So Therefore, you've got to eat that soup and eat that porridge because that hydrates you. You've also got to drink a lot of water. They recommended 3 to 4 litres a day, and I was really looking after myself and making sure I drank that because, yeah, you've got to stay hydrated. They also don't give you much meat because that's hard to digest because at altitude you don't digest food as well. So even if you hate porridge, just eat it. There was one lady and she was starting to get a bit nauseous and didn't eat. And she eventually didn't make it to the top. She was the one that didn't because, well, firstly, she was nauseous, so it wasn't really her fault. But she had no energy because she wasn't eating. So yeah, you've got to eat. You've got to keep your liquids up. That's actually essential because that's your best way of not getting affected by the altitude. Number 3 is to take Diamox. Now, this is something I didn't actually do. So Diamox, it's a prescription medication. I think you can get it on prescription or you can buy it. But I think if you buy it, it's a lot more money. And this helps protect you against altitude sickness. So I didn't take it because there were very mixed reviews online and there are some side effects as well. So the people taking it were getting issues such as tingly fingers. I think that's the main one. No one reported any other side effects. So as I was reading the reviews online, I was reading them on Reddit. Some people said, well, it didn't help me. Some people said it did. Some people said they got to the top without it, so they didn't feel like they need it. Other people said they didn't get to the top and took it. Therefore, at first, I just thought, right, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to bother booking a doctor's appointment to go and get this. I'm not going to bother just trying to find it in shops, because it's quite a rare item, I think. It can be quite difficult to find in shops. So I just thought, if it's not going to help, I can't be asked to go to that effort. However, as I was walking up, I wish I took it with me, because the success rate on Diamox is higher than the success rate without it. So I was just thinking, if I don't make it to the top, I'm going to be regretting not taking this, because it could have helped me. So I think it's up to you at the end of the day, but I would advise taking it, just so you've got peace of mind that you're doing as much as you can. Because this trip is expensive, you're probably only going to do it once in your lifetime. If you don't make it to the top, and you didn't take Diamox, and you want to go back and take Diamox, that's just a pain to organise, because you're paying a lot of money to do something you've already done. You could always go back and do a different route. But yeah, I would take it, but that comes with the caveat of it won't guarantee anything. You still might not make it. You still might get seriously ill. But it's a peace of mind thing. And I think for a lot of people it does help. Even if it helps a bit and you don't have a headache. Because I was getting headaches quite early on from altitude. If you're not getting a headache, then it's improved the experience, you know. Because it wasn't nice on one of the days walking with a headache. Whereas the people taking Diamox didn't report having headaches. So even if it doesn't do that much for altitude, if it stops you getting a headache, then it's improved your holiday. It's giving you more pleasure from the trip. Right, number 4 is you've got to look after your body. So by that I mean have 8 hours sleep, try to go to bed early, and also don't have caffeine. They were serving coffee on the trip, but caffeine makes you dehydrated, and as I said earlier, being hydrated is the best defense against altitude sickness. So I avoided it because I didn't want to dehydrate myself. Even though I love coffee, I just avoided it for the purpose of the trip. I tried to have 8 hours sleep each night. The wake up time would be really early, maybe 5:30, 6. So a lot of people would eat dinner at maybe 7:30 and go to bed at 8, 8:30. So it's a very different sleep schedule to what I'm used to. But yeah, make sure you're having 8 hours sleep. Make sure you're sleeping because your body needs energy for that final day. Because on that final day, you're going to have very little sleep and you have to wake up at 11, start walking at 12 p.m. So your body needs as much rest as it can get. Because if you're tired, the chances of making it to the top are significantly reduced. Right, number 5 is be prepared for strong sun and very high UV rays. So I live in the UK, and the UK is quite far away from the sun. We're quite far away from the equator. So I'm not used to needing very, very good sun cream. So I took factor 50 sun cream, which is the highest you can get. And I put 4 layers on and still got sunburn. And that's because we're high up, first of all, so that we're close to the sun, and we're on the equator. So the UV there, it was higher than I've ever experienced before. And my Factor 50 sunscreen wasn't up to the job. Also lip balm. I took Factor 15 lip balm because it was just what I had. It was all I owned. And a lot of people on the trip had Factor 50, and I got serious lip burn, and they didn't. And Factor 15 is just not good enough. You need the strongest sun cream you can have. You need the strongest lip balm you can have, because the sun over there is not like you've ever experienced before. And I mean, I had dry lips and I still got to the top, so it won't be a thing that makes you not get to the top. But it is very important, because having sunburn isn't nice. Also, sun hats, sunglasses, that's very, very important. Everyone on the mountain, when it was sunny, was wearing something to protect their head and sunglasses. They were doing both. Just quite a lot. I might wear a hat or I might wear glasses, but I won't do both. You must do both at all times if the sun's out. Right, number 6 is take lots of snacks. So they do give you snacks for the day at breakfast, but obviously they can't take that much stuff up the mountain, so it's really on you to bring your own snacks and bring things that will energise you and to save some for the whole trip. A lot of people on my trip got through their snacks at the start, so on summit night they had to do a 12-13 hour hike from base camp to the summit, back down to base camp, without really eating anything. Just a few biscuits that they gave you. But that's not substantial enough for such a long hike. So make sure you have enough, because I took jelly babies on summit night. I had 2 packs of jelly babies to myself, because that was all that was keeping me from not being hungry, and that was my only energy. Like I was powering off that. Therefore, sugary snacks are really good. I mean, you'll know what snacks you operate best on, but make sure you have enough, and make sure you maybe take more than you need, just so you have enough, and ration them so you're actually saving them for the end. Right, the last one is be organised, because if you're not organised and you forget something, then you might not make it to the top. That might be the end of it. Like I took, for example, this is just an example. So you've got to look at the packing list your company gives you and make sure that everything is ticked off, because they know best, and make sure you don't forget anything either. Have a method. So I put all my stuff on the table for a few days before I went. So then if I thought of something in those 2 days, I could put it on the table, and then I knew that everything was on that table before I left, everything I needed. And I checked it several times, because I am quite prone to forgetting things. But for example, if you don't have 2 pairs of gloves, on summit night you might get hypothermia, and then you don't make it to the top, and that's just because you've forgotten your glove or you've lost your glove. And that's just not it. You don't want to not get to the top because you've forgotten something. So organisation, I guess knowing where everything is important. I took, basically plastic bags are banned on the mountain. So I took dry bags with me. And I didn't write down what was in each dry bag. So I had 2 medical bags, for example, with plasters, tablets, things like that in, insect spray, sun cream. And I would always forget which was in which colour bag, and I was wasting a lot of time just faffing around opening each bag trying to see what's inside. I guess it will make your trip more pleasurable, and you won't be holding people up if you have a good knowledge as to what's where. I think it's not a huge error if you don't, but I think it's good. It saves you from being faffy, and you won't have that long stops on the hike. Like they do give you stops, but they'll give you 2 minutes to drink some water, do whatever, and if you're faffing around, you might be holding people up, and if something is at the bottom of your day sack that you need, then that's inconvenient. So try to put the things at the top that you need, because otherwise you're just spending the whole trip searching around your bag, like flapping at it, trying to find what you need. So yeah, definitely, if you're a disorganized person, don't let it put you off, but make an effort to be organised on this trip, because it does go a very long way. But that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, if you have a question, please let me know in the comments and I'll answer it. I don't know that much about all the different routes, but I do know a lot about Lemosho, because that's one I did. Also, please donate if you haven't already. I know a lot of people didn't donate at the start because I hadn't made it yet. I hadn't made it to the top, but now I have. There shouldn't be a reason not to donate. So please check out the Just Giving link, and it would be lovely if you did donate. That's in the description as well. So thank you very much for watching. I hope if you do want to do this trip yourself, this video's been of some use to you. And yeah, thank you very much.